Three, two, one for the lag of YouTube. All right, and we're live on YouTube. Cool. Let's do this thing. Podcast is recording. Yeah. All right, everybody, welcome back. Episode 91 of Dave's Dugout. We are here with special college basketball insider. I think he's a roster specialist. I think is what I would claim him as.
I think so.
And Aidan Hoffmann, welcome back to the pod.
Good to be here, Dave. Glad you had me on.
Yeah, what's going on? How's life? How's life?
Life's going well, just getting in the holiday spirit, like always.
True. Timestamp on the pod for everybody. It is December 4th, 11:30 out here, Mountain Time, 1:30 for normal East Coast people like Aidan. So Aidan, story of the week, I think we gotta start with is Baylor Gonzaga, number 1 versus number 2. Pretty much unanimously, there are a few people like myself that have the rankings flipped, but it's not many after week 1. It was very close week 1. Week 2, I think there were only 6 AP voters left that voted Baylor 1. I would be one of them. We'll get into that. But this doesn't happen very often for our sport. College basketball is, I think, our favorite sport, my favorite sport, your favorite sport. I don't even think it happens every other year. I wanted to try to fact check that, but
not at all.
It's definitely not every year, and I don't think every other year. So Saturday, 11 a.m., 1 p.m. on the East Coast, on CBS, we have number 1 versus number 2. What are your first thoughts?
Well, I think for the 1 versus 2 matchup, I think it's like the 7th or 8th since 2000. ESPN just posted a graphic today that it's the 7th actual, or I could be wrong, 6, 7, or 8 in the past 20 years. So, my thoughts on this game, I think that these two teams are definitely, bar none, the best 2 teams in the country right now. I wouldn't put any other teams as highly touted as these two, just because of the fact with their experience and their front courts are both pretty good. But Baylor actually, where I see the advantage there is that I think Baylor is one of the best backcourts in the country with Butler and Mitchell, and but Gonzaga is just all around great team. Bigs are good. Drew Timmy is legitimate, and Corey Kispert's National Player of the Year candidate, and I like Mark Few a lot. So I think it's a heavyweight battle, and bar none, the 2 best teams in the country at this moment.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. And the computers are already way high. Ken Palm already has them both 5 points ahead of the field. The next best team they have, Villanova, is at 24 adjusted efficiency. Baylor's at 28, Gonzaga's at 29, and you usually don't see that until months into the season. Obviously, they have the game. I think it's a 1-point Vegas spread. It's Ken Palm has 52% chance Gonzaga wins. I really do think it's one of those coin flip games. I think you see that. Normally when you play in any sport, football, basketball, you put 1 and 2 against each other. It's gonna be a good one. But
absolutely.
You hit on it too. Gonzaga just has so many dudes that can ball. Timmy he's just, and it's these guys that they almost got better with, who was it, Tillian and someone else left for the NBA. And it's almost like they have these other guys that are just, and Gonzaga does this every year. They just have these guys that are ready to step up, and it's almost like they got better because these guys can play more minutes now. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a well-balanced machine, too. Joel Yai, he's really solidifying that backcourt. Him and Suggs. Suggs is a huge addition. Then you have a guy like Andrew Nembhard, who started for Florida coming off the bench, and just the depth in that backcourt is just unbelievable. And with their performance against West Virginia, they're a legitimate team. They throw bodies at you down in the paint, and the fact that Gonzaga held on and got a very, very high quality win there, this just shows a lot about them, and especially this early in the season playing at this caliber.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think West Virginia. I've been a little higher on West Virginia than the AP poll and stuff. Ken Palm has too. I think they were an 8-point underdog, and me and Kyle Smith, who's been on the podcast before, we bet that. We were I don't think Virginia's going to lose by 8, and they didn't. They kept it close all game long. I didn't really know if they would pull off the upset, but I knew they were gonna. Their bigs and Culver and Shibwe are just. I think they're just.
Oh, huge,
They're huge.
huge. That's one of the best duos in the country. There,
Yeah, they
at least
are.
top.
They're absurd, and so I thought they would give them a run for their money, and they did. I guess Suggs going out was a big story. I guess that maybe helped, hurt Gonzaga, but helped West Virginia. Um,
Yeah,
he's an interesting story too. That's the highest recruit Gonzaga's ever had. I think was he number 8 coming
yeah,
in this year. So to see, I mean, that's scary because Gonzaga's been so good for the last 10 years without getting good recruits. Now you throw them
yeah,
a top 10 player, and it's like, okay, well, I guess that's why they're number 1 in the country. I mean, I guess it's.
yeah. This is a direct testament to Mark Few and just his development, player development, and now his recruiting.
Yeah, and I actually really like that for college basketball because Baylor's kind of been the same story. Scott Drew's been one of those guys,
Yeah,
recruiting low, building talent. Um, and now it's showing that more experienced guys might be better than we'll see. But like as a Kentucky, you just get 5 freshmen and throw them out there, and obviously they're
yeah.
talented, so
Well,
they're gonna win a lot. But I don't know if they're gonna. There's a
it
level
doesn't
of
win. It doesn't typically win championships. Like lately, seniors develop teams who played together for a long time. They typically win and go far in the tournament.
yeah. It's a good way to get
Young
guys
young teams are
drafted,
prone to
but
upset.
it's it's definitely a team sport, and I think that's starting to shine, which I really like. I think that's good for the sport overall. Um, Obviously, I could talk about Baylor forever, so I won't even. I don't want to like dive into it too deep, but um, yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. I think their depth and they just looked excited, and they said that on the broadcast the other day in the Jimmy V Classic. I mean, that was it was like we've been kind of saying. They just looked like a team, and it was you could tell the bench was having fun. The guys weren't even sitting on the bench; they were like running back and
Yeah,
forth, throwing like. I think that kind of stuff, especially this year in those empty stadiums, um, that's gonna make a big because that's the only sound you have is the two benches in an entire arena. So the team that's actually making noise, I think that's gonna help. I think we saw that with Duke. Duke lost.
yeah,
Duke usually doesn't lose at home for that reason.
yeah. Just Baylor's their experience in the backcourt and their intensity on the defensive end is just at another level. And Jared Butler and Matthew O'Keefe, they have just another level of experience that usually these freshman guards on Duke, Kentucky, UCLA in the past they don't have that experience, and that just puts such a big advantage to them because you can have a guy who's down the stretch goes and gets you a bucket, goes and gets you a stop on the defensive end, when usually sometimes the higher freshmen who are projected top 20, top 15 in the draft can't make you those plays just due to their lack of experience.
Right. Yeah. So that's the big story for the week. I think we wanted to start with that because obviously, I mean, you turn on ESPN and they're even starting with that now. Um, really, besides the NFL, that's really the only thing going on in sports right now. I know NBA is starting soon, but it's like preseason practices. It's really not that big of a story. I mean, I guess it's noteworthy. I just said it, but I don't think it's worth diving into. But I think we can kind of start. You want to start with kind of how the season's been going? We'll start from the beginning and catch people up because I know most people. I mean, I know I'm a freak. I record college basketball games and like watch them after because just that's mostly because my
Yeah,
work's.
you watch them after, and then you text the group chat. Did you see that? Dude, that happened 20 minutes ago.
Because my work schedule's weird. I work right in like the prime time of when like most games are going on, so I have to kind of like catch up in the late hours. But I know you watch more college basketball than most people because you're up watching Pac-12 basketball. Most people on the East Coast don't do that. So
Hey, I got stock in the Pac-12.
I love that. And for people that don't know, we mentioned it last year. I think I mentioned it last week. College fantasy basketball. It's a big thing. We're making it a thing. Most people don't know that exists. It really doesn't. We kind of just created. You created it. I essentially
Yeah, we did.
just tagged along. They made the website and everything. It's pretty crazy. It's fun. It gets you involved in specific people. Whereas I've noticed you are very stat based and like it seems like analytically like you focus on like players and whereas I'm more of a eye test team vibe person is kind of my usually my
Yeah.
my thing. So that hurts me in fantasy, but he clearly does very well every year, so it's something's working. Or he like shaves points everywhere every once in a while. One or the other. He knows what he's talking about, or he's shaving points. We'll leave you guys to determine.
40-11 speaks for itself all time.
That's funny. So
Dave's on the rise. Dave is on the rise this year. I will give you that. I thought Dave's team sucked at the draft, but let me tell you something. Dave's got some potential. He's got a lot of potential. Maybe if he gets a little bit of luck and a little more intelligence and experience with the league, he can slip in the playoffs.
well, year one, I just didn't even know how that draft website works. That was that was hard. That was a curveball. I and I might have taken one or two many Baylor players, I'll admit, but yeah,
You got to get Baylor guard this year.
this year I kind of figured it out. I still have to figure out a way to like figure out who's doing well stat wise. I still haven't found a great website for that, but we'll work on it. All right, so let's start with opening day. Was November 25th on a Wednesday. We started the season,
Yeah.
so much later than normal. I mean, not much later. A couple weeks later. Um, No, I don't think there were no upsets day one. I mean, Villanova won, Virginia won, Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, Kentucky. I mean, there were a lot of games that got us excited. It almost felt like that first day of March Madness. I mean, it was kind of like you woke up early and basketball was just on all day. That got me excited. I don't know about you, how much you tuned in day one. I was.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was a fantasy all day getting to watch you guys go at it. And when you're watching the guys, you get to learn more about other teams too, because you watch your teams, you watch your guys go, and then you start developing another affection for certain teams.
Yeah, that's true. I guess the only upset I'm seeing on day one, in the top 25 at least, was UCLA, who's a team I actually thought was top 25 worthy, and they showed spurts last year. I don't know why they've lost some close ones. I don't know what's going on with them. Um,
Yeah.
I thought Mick Cronin was the goat, but we'll see. I'm high. I'm super high on Mick Cronin. I like him. I think they'll figure it out. They were starting to figure it out last year at the end of the year, but they're a crazy story too. I think they went
Yeah,
from
definitely
dead.
a tough year.
Were they dead last or like eighth in the Pac-12 last year to they were picked preseason to win the Pac-12 this year, which I think
Yeah, they were down there.
that was a little too far. That's almost like a hot take, and for everyone to vote on that, I don't know. I don't know what happened with the Pac-12, but and I guess the two big next games Baylor was supposed to be involved in some fashion was the 2K Empire Classic that happened.
Yeah.
That happened with Villanova and Arizona State. No, okay, so those were the
Yeah.
winners of day one, right? Um, so that essentially could have or would have been Villanova and Baylor if
Yeah.
Baylor still would have played. Scott Drew tested positive for people that don't know, and they had to play games in Vegas instead of Connecticut. It was a whole big thing. But I guess the big game that day was the Fort Myers tip-off. Kind of controversial, if you ask some people, because there was some COVID scares going around. But Gonzaga and
Yeah.
Kansas both said, "Hey, let's just play the game anyway." Um, did you get to watch that one at all? Gonzaga Kansas. That was our first top 10 matchup of the year.
Yeah, I watched some of it. Wasn't very wasn't very intriguing. I mean, I don't know. Kansas this year. I mean, I've been much higher on Kansas in earlier past years, like a couple of years ago, because just the solidification in the front court with Azubuike and what's D'Souza. But I mean, I just like a team that has just they're solidified big. You know, I like a senior, a junior big who can just take over the game whenever he needs to, and I don't see that in David McCormick this year. I mean, statistically, he's not the greatest, and I don't see the leadership from him that I saw from Azubuike in the past, which leads me to believe that Kansas does not have the same firepower that they've had in past years, and with the loss of Dobson, that's a big loss for them. And Marcus Garrett doesn't seem to be holding the load like he should be earlier in the season. But with the great coaching Bill Self, that could change very quickly.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think a lot of people were. It was almost like we don't think they're a top 10, but they're Kansas, so we're going to put them in the top 10 anyway, just because they're Kansas,
Exactly.
which is fair, kind of, but also not. It's it's like um, a weird situation they've put themselves in just because of the success they've had in the past, which I mean you can't argue with. And like you said, Bill Self, maybe they'll figure it out by the end of the year, but like you're saying, I don't think they're like a perennial top 5, top 10 team. If they fall out of the top 10 here
Absolutely.
quickly, I'm not surprised. I have them 8 right now. That was as of Monday. Um, so most have them, geez, like 5. So I don't think they're a top 5 still. But you know,
That's no.
I think the AP voters leaned more on the fact that they're Kansas more than I did. Just because I think we saw that coming more. If you see who they've lost and who they're bringing in, I think you kind of knew they weren't going to be as strong as normal years.
I mean, they brought in Bryce Thompson, who's a good guard, but he's freshman and he's not gonna, and he's still behind he's behind Marcus Garrett, and he's not really going to get the keys to the program until next year, I'd say. But I think he starting? He might be starting, or he's getting minutes off the bench. But he's a good guard that's come in, but it'll take him time to develop, just like it takes every freshman guard time to develop.
Right. Yeah, so Villanova ended up winning those games. Kind of go forward here, Friday and Saturday, see what we got. I wish you could see the games I was looking at too. Let me know if there's a game that I passed that you wanted to touch on. I guess the first big upset of the year was Virginia losing. That was on Friday. This was just the third day of the season.
Oh my god.
Virginia was ranked number 4 in the country, and it's almost like we've heard this story before. It's like Virginia, one of the best teams in the country, great defense. They can't score and they get upset by San Francisco. Not UMBC. It's not it's not that bad,
Nah.
but San Francisco's a decent team. But I don't think Virginia. They only lost by 1 point, so I do give them a little like they could have won that game, but you still lost. I mean, a loss is a loss. Do you still think Virginia is one of the best teams in the ACC, or are you kind of low on them now after the loss?
Well, I don't think this is the ACC's strongest field that they've had, so I think they'll still finish top 5 in the ACC. But in the terms of in the country, I do not think that they're a top 10, maybe even a top 15 team. I mean, you'd think with the development of Jay Huff and bringing in Sam Hauser that they show a lot better in the early on. But I mean, there's still time to develop. But I mean, I'm not impressed. What are they? I think they have 2 losses already to unranked opponents.
They might. Let's see. Do they have a second already? No, I think
Yeah,
that just one. Just one.
just one. Okay, but
Um, but yeah, it wasn't a good one.
but you can have your early stuff ups, but I mean, no, not impressed. Not impressed by that loss. I mean, and they've had no real test yet. I mean, they did what they had to do against Towson and against whoever they just played. But I mean, they have a big test coming up against Michigan State. I mean, I'm gonna pick Michigan State in that. That's coming up on the 9th. So I mean, that's a big test for them, and I guess we'll see. We'll really see what they're made of early in the season.
Yeah, Michigan State looked really good as a sidebar. But yeah, against Towson, Virginia, actually, I think we were all kind of super excited. We're like, oh my God, Virginia, number 4. We're like, wow, they're really good. Like you said, Sam Hauser looked great. We're like, oh my God, they have an offense. We were like, they can shoot the 3. Like, wow, they're going to win the national championship again. And then 2 days later, they lose to what are they? San Francisco is ranked 80th in Ken Palm. So, like, I don't know. I mean, that's college basketball for you, and that's why we love it.
Yep.
But, um, yeah, let's see, and then move on. Next day, what do we got on the schedule? Saturday. Usually big days on Saturdays. Oh boy, computer's going slow. Okay, Baylor Bears played. Of course, that's the first game that pops up on my thing. They got their win. They blew out Louisiana. That was one of their games in Vegas. Villanova was the number 3 team in the country. They had to go to
Yeah, but
overtime.
you always always got to mention the favor.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Virginia Tech actually looking better than I think most thought they were going to in the ACC. Um,
Yeah,
but I don't think.
big win, big win against Villanova.
Um, yeah, I'm shocked that game went in overtime and then Virginia Tech pulled away in overtime. That was surprising, obviously to me and to probably most. Um, I actually didn't get to watch that one, but obviously I saw the highlights.
Yeah,
I guess those were the only ranked games that day. Oh, and then here's the other upset. This was, I think, the last one, or maybe this was the second and last top 10 upset of the year. I guess Richmond over Kentucky. This was,
yep.
um, I think I kind of tweeted after the game. I kind of told everybody, I was like, hey, Kentucky's not, like, shouldn't be in your top 10 right now. Should they be in the top 25 because they're Kentucky? Yes, it's kind of a similar Kansas situation. But
Yeah.
uh, shocking, but I'm not as surprised as the Virginia loss. What would you think of this one? Or what do you think of Kentucky in general this year, really?
Kentucky lost. I mean, Kentucky in general, I don't think this is one of their stronger teams. I mean, obviously it's a good recruiting class. B.J. Boston, Terrence Clark. You know, they have a good class like always, but I just don't. There's not a rapport that's there from last year. I mean, they did bring in Starr, who was excellent last year at Wake Forest, and I mean the guard play. I don't really see. I don't see any guards that pop off the page. I mean, Boston is like he's not a, he's kind of a guard forwardish player, but I don't see a point guard to run the team there. That's just is at the level that Kentucky usually has in Kentucky point guards.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you. Let's see where we got him in the Dave's Dugout top 14. Oh, whoa, not even. Yeah,
Yeah,
I have them at 20th. So I think I had them
I don't
lower
know.
to start though than most.
They're just too young. They're too young to me.
Yeah, yeah, it's the AP poll hasn't dropped them as far yet. Ken Palm has. They have them at 19. Gary Parrish has them at 21. Oh, I guess the AP poll dropped them to 20 after the loss, but before the loss, the AP was high on them, and I think they corrected themselves. They realized that they were wrong, but as the AP poll
Yeah.
usually does. And then we had a nice top 25 matchup that day too with number 14 Texas Tech and 17 Houston. Houston's a team I've been high on in years past. I think it last year. I had
Mm-hmm.
them top five early. They were kind of a
Yep.
team I think might have been a sleeper in March that a lot of people wouldn't. They were kind of going under the radar last year because even now when we talk about it, we talk about San Diego State and Dayton and Baylor, and you don't really talk about Houston, and they were good. They had dudes that could play, and they
Yeah.
they showed it against Tech. I mean, everybody's
Houston
been
has Houston they Quentin Grimes has really come into form. And they have a senior, Dejan Giroux, who's been on that team forever, and that's been a pretty good team for a long time now. And, I like this Houston team. I mean, obviously they play in the American, which makes it tough to judge. But Quentin Grimes is really evolving and becoming into that point guard that Kansas thought that they had. But,
I was gonna say, isn't he was a Kansas guy, right? A transfer.
yeah,
So yeah, they showed at least against what people think is a good Big 12 team in Texas Tech, which I would agree. They showed that they can play, so we'll see if they can hang with everybody. Um, seems like they should be able to. Here's a game that popped up. Your guys, I'm sure you can talk about North Carolina for a while. They got a big
I got the things to say.
they got a big win against UNLV. Not a big win, but UNLV was looking good up until the point, and then Texas beat Davidson. And then was that the next day, Tuesday? Did they play each other then, or was that one more day? Let's see.
Who?
Um, North Carolina and Texas.
Texas. That was Wednesday.
Okay, so that was when. So then the next day, they won again, and then so Texas gets to play North Carolina. Number 17 Texas, 14 North Carolina. I'll let you take this one.
I thought that this was it was a battle of the bigs. Okay, Jericho Sims, Greg Brown versus obviously the absolutely loaded front court in North Carolina, top three front court. By the end, I think Roy Williams can have the best front court in the country. Garrison Brooks, Armando Bacot, who is much improved, changed his entire body. There's Dayron Sharp, who is the 12th ranked recruit coming in. He's a center slash guard. And they have Walker Kessler, who Roy Williams has made comparisons to Tyler Hansbrough about. So that front court is just absolutely loaded. And the one question here with North Carolina is Caleb Love and R.J. Davis. Caleb Love has shown early struggles at point guard, lots of turnovers, volume shooting, scoring points, but not making a lot of baskets. But see, the thing is here in this game, the last three national titles North Carolina has won, they have lost to Texas and won the Maui Invitational. So this year they couldn't have done both, but they did lose to Texas. So they got 1 for 2.
That's crazy stat.
But I think in this game, what it came down to Matt Coleman being the experienced guard for Texas. He was making big shots down the stretch, and I think in the end it was the guard play of Texas that just trumped the guard play and just overhandled the big North Carolina, because when your guards for North Carolina can't make shots and can't make stops late in the game, I mean, they did bounce back and come back in the game, but I think it was just the overall experience of Texas that won in this game. But I will say this. When Roy Williams gets this front court developed and when he gets Caleb Love and R.J. Davis in sync, this team will be a top 10 team. They will be better than Kentucky. They will be better than Kansas, and they will be better than Duke. They will be a top 10 team. Will they be? They will not. I will not say they will be better than Baylor, and I will not say they'll be better than Gonzaga. But this team has top 5 potential. I think that they'll sit somewhere from 6 to 12 throughout the year. But this team is very underappreciated and underlooked, and they're very underranked to begin the season, given the terrible year they had last year. But you had them higher than most polls did, and I credit that to you. That's a testament to your knowledge. But this team, with the size, experience, strength, and freshman talent that they have, has a big, high ceiling.
Nice. Yeah, I totally agree. Like you said, I mean, I was going to ask you a question and you answered it um, already. But yeah, I have them sitting at 13 right now. I had them higher than most preseason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think they're borderline top 10. I don't think they're there right now yet because
No, no.
we still kind of have Kansas and Duke sitting there. But honestly, you could almost, if North Carolina would have won the other day and they take another loss, I mean, we're right there. I think it's going to flip around very quickly. I'm with you. I think they'll sit in my top 14 probably all year. Maybe they'll drop out. I'm not sure, but that depends on.
They have a huge test against Iowa coming up. That will be a huge test. The recipe to beat Iowa, you have experienced guard play, which North Carolina doesn't have, but they have the potential to get to a point where they can win. And you need to have guys to throw at Luka Garza. You need to have big after big after big to throw at him, pound him in the paint, tire him out, because he can go for 40 any night. And Carolina has 4 bigs they can throw at him. 4 bigs they can throw. You need big men, big defensive, experienced, athletic guys to throw at him. And if you can tire him out, you can beat Iowa, which will be a tough task. But like as you saw, Illinois, they just played. Did Illinois just played Iowa? Illinois just played Baylor, but Iowa.
Yeah.
Iowa hasn't played anyone yet. I don't think.
Yeah.
This is why Garza's stats have been off as well. But if you have guys who can throw at Garza, I mean, but obviously they have a good they have good guards, but you need to throw guys at Luka Garza to stop Iowa. So that'll be fun to watch. It'll be a very fun matchup.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually gonna be Iowa's first test. Iowa hasn't played anybody. They've played 291, 266, and 346. Yeah. So they haven't even played anybody in the top 200 yet. So that's which is kind of the opposite of most of the other good teams this year have been scheduling as such. But they're gonna get, the Big Ten is so good. They're gonna get so many matchups later on. So I don't blame them for that. Honestly, I would want these cupcake games too. And like you said, they should be resting Garza. I don't know why they're up like 30 points and he's still playing. But so we'll go back a day too to December 1st was the State Farm Champions Classic, which is usually our kind of tip off to college basketball. It's a thing. I think the past 10 years it's been a thing. You usually have some form of Kansas, Kentucky, Duke, Michigan State, and they rotate playing each other. Michigan State, Duke, and Kansas, Kentucky, I want to say, I think I got both games wrong, but maybe I got
No,
Kansas
you
right.
got it.
I
You
got
got it.
Kansas right, I guess. So Michigan State Duke. I usually root against Duke. I think that's like I'll admit when they're good,
For
but
sure.
like if it's like a coin flip game, I'm not gonna go for Duke. I'll admit that. Like it's not a secret. Um, I did not think Michigan State. I think Michigan State was 0-9 versus Coach K. It was something crazy like that before this game, and reason leads you to believe like why would they win this year? But Michigan State looked really good. I was very surprised.
Yeah, they're
Not
impressed.
very surprised, but they looked better than I thought they were going to against Duke.
Yeah, they've impressed a lot. I mean, on paper, it's not a very firepower stacked team. You know, I mean, Joey Hauser has been just tremendous. I mean, he had a year off, came from Marquette. I don't think he was doing this well at Marquette, but he's playing at another level right now. I mean, the Rocket Watch looks excellent.
P.S. He's on my
He
fantasy
looks
team.
like he's taking that team by storm. And Aaron Henry coming back, Josh Langford's healthy. I mean, this team came out of I'm not gonna say they came out of nowhere, but they impressed. I mean, they're playing above expectations right now.
Yeah, they're really good, and I think that might be one team I might have been wrong on in my rankings. I had them 15 on Monday, so that'll go up, but that was before that game, so um, they maybe arguably I should have had them in my top 14, but it's hard. I mean, there's only 14 like spots. It gets really hard. There's a lot of teams right now that I like want to put it in that you can't. It's
Yeah,
which is funny. I hear Gary Parrish obviously has the top 25 and one for CBS Sports. He gets a lot of flack from people on Twitter when it's like, why don't you have that? And he's like, yeah, he's like, it's hard, man. He's like, there's only so many spots. He's like, I have them 27. He's like, believe me. He's like, I didn't just forget about your team. But everybody gets so mad when they're like, your team's not in the top 25. It's like, why? Like, it's like no, they're really good. Like believe me, like I thought about it. Like it's not like I just don't know about your team. And toot my own horn a little there, Joey Hauser. I had him on my draft board.
you did it.
I wanted to reach for him, so I wanted to get one of the brothers. I knew both brothers were sitting out. So many people forgot about them because they had a year off. So, but
At the moment, you picked the right one.
Virginia's offense, though, I was like, I'd rather take the guy who's not on Virginia if I'm gonna like Michigan State or Virginia. Michigan State usually
Yeah,
scores more points.
Virginia is typically not a high stat grossing team. You know, it's
Yeah,
usually that Tony Bennett offense just holds a lot of players back from really.
yeah, yeah. I think they'll. We thought they were going to be a little better this year with Sam Hauser, but we'll see. It's still early.
Very.
And then another one of the marquee matchups in that State Farm. Geez, they have to like advertise everything. The Champions Classic. Kansas sneaks out a win, 65-62 against Kentucky. What do you think about the two blue bloods battling there?
Say it again.
Just Kansas and Kentucky
Lost you there.
with the battle. No, you're good. Um, Kansas ends up sneaking out a 3-point win. That was we kind of already talked about both of those teams, I guess, but
Yeah.
um,
I mean, a couple words. Just not the typical Kansas Kentucky matchup. You know, not two of the big powerhouse top five teams that they usually are. But I mean, Jalen Wilson came out of the blue and had a huge game there, and he basically fueled the victory. And then, I mean, I think these teams are very comparable. I don't think that right now. I don't think it's a 7-20 matchup right now. I think Kansas is a little worse, and I think Kentucky's a little better. I wouldn't say Kentucky's top 10, or even Kansas for that matter. I mean, I'm sure they will be. I'm sure Kansas will stick around in the top 10, but I think that this matchup was probably like a more logistically like a 13-17 matchup-ish. I mean, but obviously with the clout you have behind your name, it's gonna be a little higher ranked than you really are.
right. And then really our last big two games, and then maybe we'll get into like some sleepers and call it a day. I don't know if we'll see if you have anything else too you wanted to add, but the two big ones were Gonzaga and West Virginia, which we talked about kind of really already.
Okay.
And then Baylor, Illinois. Just quick on Gonzaga and Virginia. No, I guess we already talked about that. That's fine. Baylor and Illinois was top five matchup. That's again rare, but not as rare as 1 and 2. But that was really cool to see. I mean, what, day 7, day 9 of the season, we get a top 5 matchup. Um, and usually
Mm-hmm.
we would see it in that Champions Classic, but we got to see this in the Jimmy V Classic, which for everybody, I have to give a quick sidebar for this. I think the Jimmy V Classic is one of the coolest things in all of sports. Every year they show the Jimmy V speech on ESPN. It gets me every time. Baylor made this video that they posted on social media where they were cutting in and out between Baylor video and Jimmy V's speech. It legitimately made me cry. That was the first time I've cried in I don't know when, like years. Like I can count them on my fingers. I remember like the end of 12 Years a Slave I cried, and that was like 12 years ago. And this, it's like very rarely, like when somebody dies, like it's like very rare occasions. But that Jimmy V thing, I mean, I think I even had one of his quotes was like in one of my bios on Instagram or something for a while. I love Jimmy V. I have to sidebar that. I had a Jimmy V bracelet from when I used to work at Madison Square Garden. They always usually do this at Madison Square Garden. I wore that thing every
Uh,
day until I lost
oh
it.
yeah.
Like crazy.
Yeah. Hmm.
Sorry, went on a little rant there, but um, what are your takeaways? I think Illinois might have one of the best, if not the best, duos in college basketball. And I'll let you go first because then I think Baylor looked fantastic. Um, but to win, for Baylor to win against a top 5 team in the way they did, I think was very impressive. I didn't see that coming. I thought it was going to be a much closer game. I don't know.
No, I mean Illinois. I mean they lost. They Baylor got Illinois into. They got Cockburn into foul trouble, which was a big storyline of the game because you take out Cockburn. He's probably a top 5 center in the league now, but he always does have trouble with fouls. And I mean that was a big storyline because taking his presence away from the paint is really a burden on Illinois. But you have the Sumu on Illinois, who's probably a top 3 guard in the country. I mean, he does it all for them. And he's a little bit of a ball hog, but he does make a huge impact on the game. I mean, the Sumu and Cochran, tremendous duo, tremendous point guard center duo. I mean, and Adam Miller, he's a streaky shooter, 2 for 11 in that game. But I mean, if he gets hot, that team can really go far. They can really go far. I do think Illinois is a top 10 team, but Davion Mitchell shot the lights out that game. Really played great, and he assisted well, distributed the ball. I mean, Butler, he kind of did it all that game. Great defensive game from Jared Butler. But when you have those two guys gelling, Butler and Mitchell, this team's going to be hard to beat. I'd say that down low, down low they'll need to improve a little bit if they really want to assert themselves as the bar none top team in the country. But I think that this is very impressive showing from the Baylor guards and big win against a pretty loaded Illinois team with 2 top 5 position players in the country.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that might have been. I mean, I'm putting words in his mouth, but that was probably part of the plan for Baylor is get Coburn in trouble, and then you only have to worry about one of the 2 best players in the. It's like when you can take out one of the best players in the country, let's try to do that, and then focus on one. And their defense is just it's fantastic. I think they're going to be unmatched against everybody. The 2 teams that scare me for Baylor is Gonzaga and West Virginia, and it's because they're just bigger, and I don't know if Baylor's guards are going to be able to defend guys like Timmy and Mark Vidal. I think is going to hold his own, but I don't think the rest of the team is going to. I don't know. So we'll see. I guess they do have the guy we've been saying. His name is super hard to say. Everyday John, they're calling him. Is maybe he's big enough to like hold his own.
I don't know what his name is.
Sachua.
Tashawa Chachata.
Jonathan Chanchua Achua. It's something. We'll see. And then there was Georgie Bashanishvili. That was I can do his.
He's like great.
That game had two really hard names to say. The commentators were cracking me up. They were like Jay Billis and whoever it was.
Yeah, you drafted Bashanishvili last year.
I know. I thought, I did. It's. I didn't think Kofi Coburn was going to be that good as a freshman. I don't think anybody did. But, whatever. But yeah, I feel like I lost my train of thought on Baylor. But I'll talk about them enough in the days and weeks to come. But yeah, and then we talked about Texas and and
North Carolina.
North Carolina. And then today, I don't think there's much going on today, honestly. I think tomorrow's the big day. Creighton and Michigan State play, but they're not playing anybody. Virginia's playing, same thing. And yeah, we talked about Saturday is the big day, 1 versus 2. So obviously we'll talk about that next week. And I guess my last thing I wanted to see is what you thought, kind of like more of like the rankings, how I do the rankings. I've
Okay.
mentioned teams I'm hotter on, and then maybe you can say teams that you've kind of been sleeping on if they're ones I don't mention, or if you agree or disagree. Um, I
Mm-hmm.
I was a little hotter on Florida. I think I'm gonna drop them after how they've been playing.
Yeah.
Houston, I mentioned. I really like Arkansas this year, and Oklahoma State are my two I have in my top 25 that they're not even in people's top 40 sometimes. And if they are, they're 33
Yeah.
or 40 on the dot. Arkansas, I've always been, we say it on the pod, I'm on the must bus. I'm a must bus fan. I trust him. He's like, I think they'll be, I think they're easily a top 30 team. I think they should be getting a little more credit. And then
Yeah.
Oklahoma State is my real sleeper this year. And it's tough because they have the postseason ban, so they're not going to be able
Yeah.
to prove me right. But if they do well in the Big 12, I think I can easily see them falling at 4 or 5, and I think people had them at like 7 and 8 in the preseason Big 12. I,
Yeah.
Mostly because I just love the way this team I think is rallying around. Not only is Cunningham one of, if not the best players in college basketball, he stayed with them when he could have transferred, and I think the team is like all on board now. I think that they're gonna play way better as a team than people think. I think people think it's just one of those
Yeah.
teams like an Oklahoma team in the past with Buddy Hield. Like, oh, they have one really good guy, but the team sucks. I don't think that's them, and they're kind of showing it already. I think they're really good.
Yeah. I mean, you forget about Mike Kelly too. He ran the show last year. No, Kate Cunningham came in and kind of took the keys, but that front court, that back court's one of the better ones in the Big 12, and that's the team to watch out for. Not in March Madness, obviously, because they're canned from that. But I do like I do like State a lot. I think he hit the nail on the head there.
Cool. And then the other one I think that's noteworthy at least. Besides the what is it, the A10 with St. Louis and Richmond.
Yeah.
Um, I like both of those teams. And actually, here's a shout out to Matt Bav. He's my hockey guy on the pod. He told me I need to make a bold prediction and pick either St. Louis or Richmond to take the A10. And I'm glad I remembered to do this because I told him I would on the next episode. Right now, I have St. Louis ranked 33 in my top 40, and I have Richmond. Where'd they go? I saw them for a second. Oh my god, I can't find them. Okay, I have them 25, and I actually, at the moment, don't know if that's before or. Oh, that's before. Oh, 2-0. Is that before or after the Kentucky loss? It must be after. Anyway, I have Richmond ranked high right now, but I'm going to say, on a sleeper pick, we're going to go St. Louis wins the A10 as just a bold prediction here. Richmond's ranked higher at the moment, so we'll see how that plays out. But those are two of my sleepers that you should be watching in your top 40s. As I say, AP poll
St.
needs
Louis.
to jump up to the top 40. And my last one would be Stanford. I think Stanford is a team to watch in the Pac 12.
Yeah.
I have a couple of their guys,
Zaire,
or one of their guys, Zaire, in my fantasy
Zaire
team.
Williams. Yeah.
Um,
Zaire Williams. You got the Silva, and you have Dehan Davis. That's a dangerous team. I mean, Pac-12 not really that impressive. It's in the late years, but
yeah.
I like Stanford. I mean, they're 1-2 now, but I mean, they had two tough games against UNC and Indiana. But I do like Stanford.
You have any other teams you think people are sleeping on, or people should keep an eye out for?
Um, Selfishly, I'm gonna say LSU. I mean, I know that they did drop an early game, but that team with Watford down low. I mean, Watford's going to be a different animal this year. I mean, year two, he was actually, I think, one of the leading high school rebounders of all time in like American high school history,
Oh wow.
and he can shoot it from three. And down low, his scoring has improved drastically. And Cam Thomas coming in, averaging 24 points a game for the first three games. Freshman guard, he is playing at another level, and Cam Thomas can take this team to another level because his scoring ability is just it's just unmatched. I mean, he's 24 points a game as a freshman. He looks like a junior right now. And then you have Darius Days down low too, who can rebound and defend the ball like nobody else. And you got Sharif O'Neal, who isn't really going to do much, but I mean, it's just a name. And Javante Smart, I forgot about him. Javante Smart. So I mean, this LSU team can develop and gel, and I like this team a lot. I like their presence down low, and I like their guards.
Javante Smart. I had to start him this week against you now because my the C word. I'm not gonna say it, but
Yeah.
took out one of my guys. But I'm with you. LSU. I got ranked 36. Again, they're not in most people's top 40s, so you're good on a sleeper there. Um, do you think I would actually like go bold enough where I think they might be better than Kentucky, and they're going to be the one to challenge Tennessee because Tennessee's kind of the SEC team of the year right now. Would you go that far or no?
No, um, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's just being young teams. I don't like young teams in Kentucky. You know what? I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'll say yeah. I'll say LSU will be better. Can beat Kentucky because Cam Thomas can drop 30 games. You have Trendon Watford down low, who's one of the premier. He will be one of the premier bigs in the league this year. And you have Dace, who's solid, and you have Javante Smart, who's experienced and solid too. So I mean, I like this team.
Cool. Yeah, I'm with you. We're on the same page a lot. That's either really good or really bad. Usually, when people agree on bets and stuff like that, it means the opposite. But hopefully, it's a good sign. Um, yeah. Do you have anything else you wanted to add, or any other teams, or any other players, or anything at all?
No, I think that I am set and
Cool.
ready.
Sweet. Well, thank you for getting on. I appreciate it. I think
Of course,
we
anytime.
did good. I think we went for a little longer too than I thought we were gonna. Yeah, like
No, we did. We almost like an hour.
45. Yeah, we're pushing it. Wow.
45, 50.
Cool. Alrighty. Well, thanks again, and
Take care, Dave.
we'll talk to you soon.
Good luck to you this week.
Thanks. See ya. Cool. Alrighty, everybody. So that was our portion of the pod with a guest. Well, sorry. Excuse me for the live people. Oh, because I'm gonna break my thing. Wow. All right. There we go. Hello, hello, hello. Can everybody still hear me? Check, 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 check. Hello, hello, hello. Wow, when did I break my? We'll have to check that out. Um, hmm. Well, I hope my audio wasn't screwed up for this whole episode. Not getting. Anyway, all right. So for the live people, thank you for tuning in this whole time. I know there's a little awkward pauses sometimes. Usually I try to go straight through and not even um, cut the podcast, obviously, because it's just easier. But when you get people live on the pods, you gotta roll with the punches. So I guess I guess I kind of mentioned them off the top. NBA starting soon will be the thing to watch. Obviously, we're excited for college basketball here on the pod, and we will continue to bring that to you. And we're gonna go ahead and make a bold prediction that Baylor wins that Gonzaga game just for selfish reasons. Coin flip though, Baylor I think getting 3.5 points last time I checked. That I would actually hit from a not selfish standpoint. I think it's gonna be a close 1, 2, 3 point game. Ken Palm has it as a 1 point game, so if that tells you anything, I would ride 3.5. It's probably dropped since then, but yeah, that's the game of the day. CBS, 1 o'clock on the East Coast, Saturday. Tune in. That's going to be a big one. 1 versus 2. As Aidan said, it only happened like 8 times in the past in the regular season. So, wow. This is a year. Let's go. Finally, we get something in sports to be excited about, people. Very cool. And NFL, as always. Well, we'll talk about that more next week because this has been a long episode. So I appreciate you tuning in live. I appreciate you listening to the podcast. That will do it for us. And like, subscribe, share with your friends, everybody. Have a good day. Alrighty, thank you for tuning in live, and we will see you next time. Hope you enjoyed. And for the note, we are going to try to get. There's got to be a way to be able to get the people I'm interviewing, get a webcam, Zoom recorded or something, and interact that into the live stream. I'm working on it. So stay tuned. It's only going to get better from here, people. Believe me. Till next time.